To kick off our series on AP US history, we have this kind of introductory video providing some background on what society was like in these three worlds that eventually collided to form what we call now contemporary the United States or America. So we're just going to take a look at what the society and life was like in each of these three main regions, these three worlds, so to speak, in 1450, and how by 1600 they've kind of came together and influenced the future for America. So in this video, we're just going to look at North America and South America, just the Americas and the Native American people and their life. And in the next video, we'll talk about Western Europe and Western Africa. So first of all, we know that the Native Americans were in the Americas long before the Europeans came. But really, how long were they actually there? When did they first arrive in America, and where did they migrate? So the answer to this is that the Native Americans actually came in the last ice age through what was the Bering land bridge. So this region I'm shading right here is about 100-mile sea, present-day sea, between Alaska and Siberia over here, or Russia. And in the last ice age, this sea froze up and formed a land bridge. So this is now it's the Bering Sea, but back then it was the Bering land bridge, which people used to cross over and come into the Americas. So the Native Americans came in actually three movements. The first movement was about 15,000 years ago, and that's where the first Americans arrived. The second movement was about 8,000 years ago, and this is where the predecessors to the Apache and the Navajo Indians came in. So these people went further down, and you'll notice that I'm going along the coast, and that's because these people were probably used to going along the coast, so really they migrated along the coast down, all the way down to possibly even South America eventually. So the third and final wave of migrants came about 5,000 years ago, 5K years ago, and these guys stayed still a bit north. These were the Aleutians and the Inuits. These were the what we call the Eskimos, what you see in the tail of Alaska Airlines with Parker Code, and what we see, those Eskimo people came about 5,000 years ago in this third wave. So after that, they were really cut off for 300 generations before the Europeans finally came with Christopher Columbus in 1492. And before that, really one thing that really influenced society and life was corn, or maize, what I'm drawing right here, maize. And maize actually ended up making two of our greatest, or two of the largest empires in North and South America. The first of which being the Aztec Empire. So we have the Aztec Empire, roughly in this region that I'm shading right here. And the Aztecs, how they formed their empire was that they controlled the fertile areas, the fertile valleys in the region that they controlled, and these were used to grow maize. These fertile valleys grew maize, and they were able to control this and also control trade in order to make their large and successful empire. And a characteristic about the Aztec Empire is that it was ruled by a priest and warrior class, and they also performed the infamous blood sacrifices because they truly believed if they sacrificed blood, it would lead to a better harvest. So leading back to this maize. The other empire in the Americas was the Inca Empire, which unfortunately I wasn't able to bring up South America in this video. But if I draw a little sketch right here, it's not really a very good sketch, but if we draw a little sketch right there, the Inca Empire was along the western coast of South America, stretching from Peru all the way down to Chile, about 2,000 miles long in length. And it was a really long, thin, kind of pencil-like empire where there was a big system of roads, a bunch of storehouses, administrative centers, and it was they used a bureaucracy of nobles, and it was ruled by a king, and it was really a massive feat for these Native American people. They had this extensive bureaucracy with all these intricate roads that connected the whole empire, and it was really great. And the way that they did it was basically just a bunch of subordinate kingdoms that was conquered by the Inca under the Incan umbrella. There were many subordinate kingdoms, so if you kind of think of like an upside down umbrella, and we have all these little kingdoms right here. That was really the essence of the Inca Empire. The Inca were the underlying umbrella that controlled all these little subordinate kingdoms inside the umbrella. Okay, so those were really the only empires in the Americas. Nothing else was really at largest scale of the Aztec and the Inca empires. So we noticed that it kind of cuts off at Mexico. There's nothing really north of Mexico, which is what we're interested in. This is U.S. history after all, right? So let's explore kind of the political organization in North America, specifically around the United States region, because it was really very diverse. So first we're going to take a look at the Mississippi Valley. So if this is the Mississippi River right here, the Mississippi Valley was kind of like right around the Mississippi River in this area that I'm shading right now. That was the Mississippi Valley. And the Mississippi Valley had a center, Cahokia, which is really it was a large town, and it was really a center with a population of around 10,000 people, which is a lot. And if you add up the satellites, it brings up about 20 to 30,000 people in that one little area. And they were known really for building mounds. They built a lot of mounds, and they used these mounds as burial grounds, foundations for ceremonial buildings. They really liked their mounds. And this mound kind of culture actually spread throughout the region, and it actually even spread to southeast United States or Florida, with the Appalachian people who were also observed using this tradition of mound building. And one thing to note is that this maize that spread down to the Aztec Empire didn't just stay there. It actually even came out, and it came up, and it spread all across the United States, and it became a staple crop not just for the Aztecs but also for the Mississippi Valley, and further out to the next region we're going to talk about, the Eastern Woodlands. And the Eastern Woodlands encompasses this area we have here. We have pretty much the whole eastern United States would be called the Eastern Woodlands. Pretty much, let's say, east of Chicago, Illinois, around that area, all the way down to the coast, New England, everything. This is all the Eastern Woodlands. And the characteristic about the Eastern Woodlands is that it was actually very, very diverse in its political organization. There were chiefdoms, where we would have a village that had a chief. There would be paramount chiefdoms, which were a bunch of villages that had together that had their own chief, but then there was a powerful supreme chief almost that ruled over all the chiefs of all the villages. And then there was also the Iroquois Confederacy, which was completely different. It was neither a chiefdom nor a paramount chiefdom. It was more like a military alliance of 5 different tribes, and they had this thing called a Council of Sachems, not a chief, but a council of sachems that actually ruled over. So I like to think of it more like a military alliance rather than a chiefdom or even a paramount chiefdom. So again, you can see that the Eastern Woodlands is very, very diverse. But one thing they did have in common is that a lot of the villages, they would cultivate maize, beans, squash, and other stuff in the summer, while in the winter they would be hunters and gatherers. So they were kind of both. They were both sedentary and hunter-gatherer societies.